For roughly a century, the global car industry belonged to Germany, Japan, and the United States. Names like Ford, Toyota, and Volkswagen built the foundation of modern driving and anchored their nation's economies. But over the last 3 years, those legacy giants have taken a beating. Porsche watched 92% of its bottom line vanish in a single year, while Volkswagen announced it was cutting 50,000 jobs. Behind these collapsing margins is a single competitor that seemingly came out of nowhere: BYD. In 2011, the idea of them posing a threat to Tesla was a joke, with Elon Musk literally laughing at them on live television. Today, BYD sells more electric cars globally than anyone else. The man who built this empire is Wang Chuanfu. The accepted explanation for his success is that Wang, originally an engineer running a battery workshop, figured out how to build a car around the battery, rather than trying to electrify an existing car platform. This flowchart illustrates extreme vertical integration. While a traditional automaker relies on hundreds of outside suppliers, BYD decided to build nearly everything in-house. They manufacture their own chips, their own glass, and even write the software running inside the dashboard. They paired that manufacturing control with 2 massive technological wins. First, they cornered the Chinese market by focusing on plug-in hybrids, cars running on electricity for daily commutes, but gasoline for longer trips. Second, they developed the Blade battery, a highly durable lithium iron phosphate design that drastically reduced the risk of battery fires. Business schools are already writing case studies celebrating this strategy as a modern manufacturing miracle. But when you look closely at the financial mechanics keeping this operation running, the math completely breaks down. BYD bypassed traditional market competition entirely. Between 2015 and 2020, they operated with a massive financial advantage, receiving roughly $4.3 billion in direct subsidies from the Chinese state. This comparative bar chart shows exactly how dependent the company was on that money. In 2016, the subsidies BYD collected from Beijing were actually higher than the company's entire net profit. Without the government writing checks, they would have been losing money. That state help arrived in multiple forms: free land for factories, zero-interest loans from state-owned banks, and guaranteed public contracts for fleets of buses and taxis across hundreds of Chinese cities. A decade ago, Xi Jinping laid out the Made in China 2025 plan, explicitly targeting the automotive sector for global dominance. BYD was chosen as the instrument to execute that goal. Because the government was quietly covering the spread, BYD could afford to sell vehicles below cost for years. Legacy automakers are fighting an entire nation's industrial strategy. Now the foundation of that strategy is showing deep structural cracks. An independent research firm out of Hong Kong recently published a report exposing massive hidden liabilities on the company's books. This gauge highlights the discrepancy in their accounting. While BYD officially reports 42 billion yuan in debt, analysts estimate the true number is closer to 323 billion, almost 8 times higher than the public ledger suggests. The missing money is hidden inside a practice called supply chain financing. Instead of borrowing from banks, BYD uses its own suppliers as an unpaid credit line. While the industry standard is to pay suppliers within 60 days of delivery, BYD stretches those payments out to an average of 275 days. They pair that financial leverage with demand-side manipulation. At the end of the month, when quotas are due, dealerships register thousands of brand-new cars to shell companies they control, artificially inflating their new car sales numbers. Those zero-mileage vehicles never go to real customers. Instead, they end up parked in giant dirt lots across China, where thousands of identical, brand-new EVs sit completely abandoned and slowly rusting in the grass. Meanwhile, the physical products and the people building them are suffering under the strain. In just the last year, BYD issued historic recalls for steering column defects that cause spontaneous fires, and they are currently faced. When you add up the manipulated sales data and the off-the-books leverage, the image of an unstoppable juggernaut fades, revealing an incredibly fragile operation. This line chart tracks their recent performance, and the numbers are ugly. BYD's net profit dropped 19% in 2025, and their global sales plummeted 41% in the first months of 2026. The situation has deteriorated so rapidly that Beijing itself issued a rare public warning, telling its own automakers that the brutal price war they are fighting is completely unsustainable. In financial circles, a specific, terrifying comparison is starting to circulate: Evergrande. Like Evergrande, BYD is a massive, state-championed behemoth deeply intertwined with the Chinese economy, actively risking a spectacular collapse under the sheer weight of billions in unpaid supply chain debt. Even if BYD folds tomorrow, the Western automakers they targeted won't simply bounce back. The market share has been taken, the factories have been built, and the permanent damage to legacy brands is already done. And Beijing isn't stopping with cars. They are actively deploying this exact same asymmetric, state-backed playbook across half a dozen other global industries right now. The traditional rules of global manufacturing no longer apply. To dominate the world market today, you don't necessarily need the best product. You just need a government willing to underwrite a mountain of hidden, devastating debt.